Hello everyone, welcome you all to this particular orientation today. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. Please confirm. Thank you for the confirmation. Okay, let's get started then everyone. Let me share the screen. So today we'll be talking about what is this data engineering. I got to know that you guys have a lot of. Okay, first let me introduce myself. My name is Sahil Garg. I'm a data engineer, and I was working as a data scientist, analyst, and data engineer, and is into this domain from past almost 8 to 9 years now. Right. So I'll be introducing you. I'll be teaching you about the data engineering, why the data engineering is an important field, everything about all those things, and all the doubts whichever you have. We'll be discussing about everything. Okay, shall we get started, everyone? Okay, let's get started. So, talking about very first, many people have a lot of doubts regarding this part as what is this data scientist, what is the data engineering, and all those things, and why a data engineer is an important field. Okay, so let me give you a very basic structure output over here that how the things actually work, and then why, and you can yourself define why data engineering is an important field right now. Now, whenever we talk about data scientist, or like if I talk about the whole data field itself, just a moment. Right. So, if I talk about the term data engineering, now let's talk about why it is an important field, how does it work, and how does this particular domain related to all the other fields such as data engineering, such as data scientists, business analysts, all the terms that you hear about, like ML engineers, ML up, and all those things, right? So we'll be discussing about as an overall view, right? So whenever we talk about data scientist or a data field itself, if I put a data field over here, generally speaking, whatever we call it as a data is nothing but any kind of information whichever we are dealing with. Every kind of information whichever you talk about is what we call it as a data, right? And similarly, when you talk about a big data, because that is where the data engineers come into play. Big data generally refers to a data which is in very huge amount, very valuable, very huge in amount, and that is what we refer to as big data. And whenever we talk about a term, whenever we talk about people as data analyst, let me just clean it up. Whenever we talk about a term as analyst, right? So data analyst is a person who works with the BI tools, right? Who works the major skills which we need for data analysis, SQL and BI tools. BI tools. Right. So these are the two major skills which we need, which a data analyst needs, who try to analyze, who tries to demonstrate or visualize the data, right? So that you can see a graph and predict this is what is happening. If you see a particular bar chart, you see a line chart, all those charts and visualizations help you to get insights from the data. Similarly, when we talk about the term as data analyst, data scientist, let me just move this one. Similarly, when we talk about the term as data scientist, similarly, when you talk about data scientist, he is the person who uses AI, who creates the AI, such as ML models. It can be a AI deep learning neural network models. It can be any kind of AI model which tries to replicate like humans. That is the person who uses these kind of AI models to get insights from the data. The main motive for both the people, it can be data analyst, it can be a business analyst, it can be a data scientist, it can be an AI engineer. The main motive is to get some insights from the data. And then where is the if you talk about this perspective, like these two people are there who tries to get a data, who tries to get the insights from the data, then what is the role of this data engineer? And why data engineers are important over here? Because whenever we talk about data, whenever we want to get insights from the data, nowadays we create a lot of data. We create a very huge amount of data. If we talk about a general, YouTube creates 200 TBs of data every day. our NSE, National Stock Exchange, creates almost 500 GBs of data every day. And people are analyzing those kind of data, those high level scales of data. To do that, that is where the data engineering comes into picture. Data engineer is the person who works with this data management part, who handles all the data which is coming in, transforms it so that it become very useful. It can be used by a data analyst, by a data scientist as well. And whenever we talk about the tier-wise companies, like tier one company, tier two company, tier three, now tier three companies are the one which are small segment companies. Now there we have a data engineers who is doing the data analyst part, who is doing the data scientist part. When you talk to the tier two companies, a slightly higher level companies, a mid-range companies, that is the place where data engineers and data analyst is a single person, data scientist is an individual person. Then we have is data tier one companies, which are the top level companies. That is where we have all the individual people like data engineers, data analysts, and data scientists. Okay. That is how it works. And if you ever see the job post on LinkedIn, on Indeed, or Naukri.com, wherever you see a job as data scientist, data analyst, they will be always asking you for the particular as that you should be knowing about the big data technologies. You should be knowing about Hadoop architecture. You should be knowing about the cloud-based services. That is where the data engineers come into play. So basically, they are looking for a data scientist plus a data engineer. And that is what we are going to give you in this particular course to everyone. In this particular course, we are more oriented toward data engineers because they are the main terminology, because data scientists, and data analysts are like famous personalities. Everyone likes their job because it's an interesting part. But the main part is done always by the data engineers because if you have the data, then only you can do some visualization, then only you can get some insights. And that is where the demand for data engineers are even higher, which is not that much limelight. But data engineers are comparatively like 50% ratio to the data engineers. 50% comes all data analysts, business analysts, data scientists, ML ops, ML engineers, AI engineers, AI architects, everyone. That 50% of companies' jobs are been given by all of these. 50% is only for the data engineers, big data technology, or big data architects. And that is what we will be covering in this particular course with you guys. And to make it more useful for you guys, what we have done is, if I talk about the basic course outline over here, we are starting, we'll try to cover as much as possible, and we will be covering some basics of these two domains also, which is this data analyst and data scientist as well. Because when we talk about this data scientist, now data scientist, the main skills which a data scientist needs is going to be Python and ML. The main skill which we add whenever we talk about a data scientist over here, the main skill we have is Python and machine learning. Right? SQL, we have already discussed that the main skills for data analyst is SQL and a BI tool. For main skills for data scientist is Python and machine learning. Right? So we are trying to cover all these in this data engineering program as well. Because when you talk about data engineering, the first thing which we're going to start with is what about the data itself, because everything revolves around the data. You need to work with the data, you need to understand the data, and that is where we're starting with the very first module as the data part itself. Right. Then we'll be starting with the next. Let me just share that curriculum part itself. Hold on. Let me share you the whole curriculum over here. Yes, please. So this is the curriculum which we are going to look out for. We are main focused on the data part, what all data is all about, what all things are we going to cover, what all things do we have in the data, how you can manage and work with different kinds of data, formats, structures, everything we'll be learning about the data part itself. Then we'll be starting with the Python, that how Python, we are going to be using Python because Python is a major skill. And you can see Python, which we are talking about over here, is the main skill for the data scientist as well. So you're learning both the skills parallelly over here. That is the advantage which you're getting over here. Then we'll be starting about databases because that's the practical part. whenever you go for, and you must have seen this, whenever you go for any kind of data science course or data analyst course, they always tend to teach you with CSV file, Excel file, right? Text files. That is what they're teaching you with. But over here, you'll be learning how to get a data directly from a database to your different environments. Get a data, because that is how the practical work happens. That is how the real time work happens in the industry, and that is the main thing which actually require, which where you lack, where many people lack whenever they have done the data science or data engineering skills, right? So that is what we are going to covering over here. All the databases which we need, SQL, NoSQL databases, MySQL, MongoDB. These are the two databases which we will be covering, which we will be studying over here. Moving forward, we'll be learning about big data technologies. Which all kind of big data technologies do we have? How do we manage and work with that higher amount of data? Whichever kind of higher amount of data which is available, as I talked about, TBs of data, GBs of data, terabytes, zettabytes of data. How do we work with those kind of technologies? How do we handle them? That is itself is a very big task. After that, we'll be entering into the cloud-based platform, because most of the companies work on a cloud-based platform, because no company is on a single place. They're expanding themselves. They're connected with well-placed places. So that is why we'll be more focused for the cloud platforms, which different kind of cloud platforms which are available over here. And the major focus we will be covering over here is going to be the Azure. So Azure services are going to be the one which we'll be covering up to at the maximum. Right? So you can see the maximum time is spent on the Azure services. After that, we'll be having a basic overview of AWS as well, because AWS is an important part. Reason being, companies can switch, can take one piece from Azure, can take one piece from AWS also. And that happens many times. And that is the reason why we'll be covering both of them. Main focus will be on the Azure services, because it's just majorly Azure services have been highly used in the data field, whereas AWS services are more used in the development field. If you're developing websites, if you're developing a software, apps, everything, that is where AWS services are more required. So we'll be having a basic briefing of AWS also, so that you'll not be left out. But more focus will be on the Azure part. After that, there are many more technologies are available, such as Kafka, Airflow, Snowflake, Informatica, and Hive. These are some of the technologies which are also being used by the companies, and we'll be having a basic overview of these particular technologies as well. Even though these technologies are already been covered in the Azure part, because all these services are already available in the Azure itself. So we'll be having individual service also, like how you can get a single service. Here we'll be covering all the Kafka part, like how do you integrate your cloud service with a streaming platform, right? All those technologies. So everything will be covered in this cloud part itself. The additional part, like these are the additional softwares which are available. To make you brief, to have you interacting with the other tools or technologies which are being used by the companies. So for that particular part, that is what we'll be covering over here. After that, to give you more on top of it, as I mentioned, tier 2, tier 3 companies, they hire a data engineer which can do everything. And most of the thing, if you're able to do, you're always selected higher. You're much better selected. Right. So that is why we are also doing a Power BI over here. So that's a BI tool. So with the SQL and the BI, you become a data analyst also. You're eligible to go for a data analyst jobs as well. Obviously, data engineering needs all the other things also. So you already got that skill. And data engineers are the one, as I mentioned, tier 3 companies also wants data engineers to work on the ML part, data scientist part also. And that is why we'll be covering the machine learning fundamentals also. So that you can create a machine learning models on top of your big data technologies, on top of a very big, large amount of data. You can cover on that things as well. So that is why we are also delivering you this machine learning, where you can work on machine learning. How do we work with the ML models? How do you implement? How do you create ML models, and how you can implement them? So that is also will be covering in this particular part as well. Finally, we'll be completing some projects which will be using cloud services, which will be using all the business analyst part as well. How do you work with the analytical part? How do you work with the ML part? How do you deploy all the things? That is all the services. That is all the things which we'll be covering up in this particular session. And sessions will be done based on the this written method only. Let's not be like more as slides based to give you more personalized scenarios. We'll be doing it on a pen paper rather than a slide method. I'll not be giving any slides. I don't like doing things on a slides part, just showing you things. I believe more in the practical part. So I'll be writing up most of the things. I'll be doing most of the things over here. And you can look out for the data engineering course. You can get this course into the chat as well. So you can download this course outline. Look out for this. Right. So that is what we are going to cover up over here. Finally, if you talk about the additional part, like why you should become a data analyst, right? Why data engineer, sorry, why you should become a data engineer. As I mentioned, data engineer is a person who works with the data handling part, who manages the data, who tends to get insights or useful scenario, create data useful for the companies. And that is why they are having a major use cases, major opportunities in the market. Right? And that is one of the reasons. Coming to data analysts and data scientists, obviously you can go for it. If you are looking to go for data scientist only, initially you will start working on the data engineering task anyway. Because I have taught thousands of people in the data science field also. I always teach nowadays as well. So people who start to work as a fresher in the data science field also, they have to start learning into the data engineering field anyway, because that is the practical aspects of the companies. So whenever till the time you don't have a practical skills of the data engineering, you are never a priority list employees for the companies. That is why you should be looking more towards the data engineering coming rather than a data analyst and data scientist. And in this one, we are trying to cover everything over here so that you become a full-fledged product for the company. Your resumes can shine, and this one. And coming to the salaries part, because that is one of the major question asked by many of the students, many of you guys. So I will talking about the salary part. Talking about the data analyst. Now the journey for data analyst is the smallest one. Reason being, you have to just work with the SQL and the BI tools. Additionally, you can add an Excel as well. Google Sheets and Excel is one of the major tool which is get adds up into this data analyst part. So these are the major three skills which you need as a data analyst. And talking about the salaries part also, salaries of data analyst is comparatively lower than the data engineering field. And if I go with the numbers part, if you talk about the numbers, and that's not like I'm giving you. You can look out for the Glassdoor numbers also. The number goes as like 10 lakh, 10 lakh is for the data science only. 6 to 7 or 8 lakh max to max. You go with the data analyst people. That is the kind of number as 6 to 8 LPA, which you can expect as a fresher into this data analyst field. Whereas coming to data scientists and data engineers, they both can earn around 10 to 12 lakh easily. That is like a regular figure which they tend to earn as a fresher job. And if you have a data scientist skill with experience, that is when you have a higher chance of getting a 10 LPA. Whereas data engineers, if you have good hands-on on these all technologies which we have just now talked about, you can easily get a part of a 10 LPA in a fresher's part as well. So that is how you can look out for these jobs. That is how you can choose for your career, whichever is the most suitable for you, suitable one for you. Right. So if you guys have any questions, you can discuss. We can discuss on that, because that is what we have as a basic briefing of all these different fields which we have. Because I believe most of you guys are also getting confused with these fields. जैसा कि मुझे मिला भी था ये कि you want to confirm कि ये तीनों में difference क्या है. That's why I started from this particular point, ताकि आपको basic idea रहे कि क्या क्या आएगा इसके अंदर, कैसा difference होता है और कैसे आपको choose करना है कि आपके लिए कौन सा desirable field है when the data engineering process started. Clear, everyone? Any question if you guys have, we can discuss on it.
Yeah, hi. Hi,
Yes.
Sahil. Sahil.
Yes, go
I,
on, Varun.
yes, I wanted to ask, are you in data engineering specifically? Are we covering the topics that I'm going to tell you? Are we covering full load, incremental load? Are we covering time travel? Are we covering delta lake and lake formation in this?
Definitely, delta lakes are not. We can never be like completed if we are not covering delta lakes, data warehousing, everything. So that does not make a sense if you're not covering all those things.
Good.
Now coming to the load balancing part and all those things, so obviously, and that is why we tend to go with the cloud-based platforms, because we have a possibility of scaling well in the case of when you are working with the cloud services, because most of these services are based on the pay on the go basis. So you can easily increase or decrease your services based on the costing part also. That is why we are more focused toward the cloud based, because getting an individual part itself is a difficult task for all the companies. So every company generally prefer to go with the cloud-based systems. Obviously, if it's a very high-end company, they can buy all the things by themselves. But that's why we are using, we are more focusing toward the cloud-based platforms.
Okay, so that means time travel we are also doing, right? This concept will be
Sorry,
time travel part will be covered, right?
time travel, like how you are expecting this to be time travel, like
Time travel is a concept in any warehousing tool, whether it's Azure, whether
okay,
it's
got it. With the
with
warehousing, yes, because we are looking out for the time-based scenarios, like how it has been changing around and all those things. Analytics part, which goes with the warehousing part, because in warehouse we never delete the data, we store it always. So that is what you're talking about. So
Mhm.
definitely yes, we'll be covering that part also.
Okay.
Hi, this is
Yes,
Imran.
hi Imran.
I have few queries. Uh, I started as a career in DBA,
Mm-hmm.
in internally I switched as a developer. But I opportunity to searching job as a developer. In place of that, if I finish this course, means can I search this kind of jobs like a data engineer or a data analyst?
Definitely, because you already have a DBA skill, so you already have a good interaction with the database management. And whenever we talk about data
Hmm.
engineering, so database management is a part, is a good, like a major chunk, not really like major, but a good chunk of the data engineering field itself. So you already have a good strength on that one. So that
And
will
as well
become an added
as I'm
advantage
good
for you.
at Python also.
Sorry?
Python also.
Okay.
I'm good at Python also, and already 50% I completed a data science course also.
Okay.
You know,
Great. So yeah, so definitely it will be an added
then
advantage for you, because you just need to work
mm,
out on that cloud and all those data warehousing, like the advanced big data part only. That is where you'll be having like a complete part of data engineering, because all the other part you already have. So that will be like easy journey for you to moving forward.
yeah, have any hands-on in a tutorials there can you can provide any hands-on platform for the learning purpose.
So hands-on platform, we will be using a cloud, Azure cloud itself, for the use part itself. Then how you'll be working with the data warehouses, all the data lakes we are setting up. So Hadoop structure architecture, we'll be setting up everything in this particular course. It's not like the theoretical part. We are more focused on the practical part. So we will be working on the Azure cloud over here in this particular course.
Okay, if how to set up Azure and how to we can do daily work like that kind of task will be you can guiding or what from scratch uh,
No, from the scratch itself,
in
we'll be
post.
doing over here. Like how do you set up the
Uh,
Azure account, all the services, all the resources group, how to manage all the payments part as well, because that is also our part. Because how are we using all those services? How should we effectively close them on them whenever we need it? How do we create all those pipelines, ETL job, ETL tools? Everything we will be covering from the scratch only. It's not like I'll be giving you something that read it out and then come to the tomorrow session. That's not going to happen. Obviously, I will be giving you some notes also for pre-study, but it's not like
okay,
everything we will not be doing in session itself. Everything will be done in the session
okay,
only. Yes.
okay, last question. This is last. Uh,
Hmm.
if you guiding that will be the can I show my experience or can I show my completed course like that in front of interview time?
Sorry, come again. I didn't get you.
When I sitting interview that time can I express this is my experience or can I show this is a completed course in
No, you
front
should
of
show your
interview person?
experience also. Showing your experience is also a good part. Course is definitely one of the other part, because that goes as an education skill. But DBA skills and all those development skill will definitely be a helpful case for you. Definitely for sure, like DBA skill will definitely be a good use for you, because that's where they know that you have actually worked on some bigger size of data. You have actually managed on the schemas part. You manage and worked on that schema creation, all those developments, data models. So you already have that good knowledge. So that will be an added advantage for you.
Okay.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hello, sir.
yes,
Hi,
of
sir.
course.
Yeah.
Hi,
Sir, hello, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you.
Sir, actually, I want to know about which cloud is better.
Sorry.
I have two options: GCP or Azure.
Okay. So I would say like there's nothing as good or bad. You see, companies are using it. Like if I take a very simple example of Deloitte, like, so and Deloitte is like one of the company which I have worked a lot, and that's why I'm giving you that example. Now Deloitte works on all three services, and they have a AWS people, they have a GCP people, they have a Azure people as well. So everything has been used by them. Right? So it depends on company to company. And as I mentioned, companies can use one service from one part, another service from another part. Now, generally, that does not a very casual scenario. It's a occasional or like very rare kind of scenario. But yes, companies work with multiple services also. And there's nothing bad or good. You can go for whichever one. If you're mastering one technology, other two will be like similar kind only. That will not be like you have to start from scratch only for other two cloud services. So you learn one, other two are like you can just go through it and you'll be able to work with them also. That is how it goes.
Can we learn dual cloud, GCP or and Azure?
Definitely, you can go for it. You can learn both of them. As I mentioned, like, and that's why I over here also I said that we'll be more focused for the Azure. Like main services, all services will be learning from the Azure part. AWS will be just covering as an overview scenario over here. But like with the project, we just covered everything. That is how we'll be doing the AWS. So that because see, if I talk about like a basic example as in Azure, we have a data factory which helps us with the data pipeline or migration of data. Similarly, we have a AWS Glue which helps us do the same task over here. So that is how the service has been changing. Names of the services changing, but basic principles are same over there as well. So we do have everything in Azure, which is similar to in the AWS also. And like that is my personal experience. I'll not say like full fledged it's correct, but that is how I from my perspective always say AWS has generally been used by most of the people who are working into the cloud based platforms. Sorry, in the development places. That is where the AWS is highly used, and because AWS was the first one to appear in this cloud based services, so AWS have obviously a one third of internet, like more than one third of internet. Whereas if you talk about Azure, which is the second cloud based service provider, because they were second, so they are not able to get much of the things. So they mastered more into this data field. And that is why Azure services are highly used in the data field, whereas AWS services are highly used in the case of development field. Coming to GCP, now that's the third one, which came very later on. And but need for GCP also is coming up very well nowadays, and it has been used in both the cases. So you can learn any one of them, and second one will be very easy for you after that.
Okay. And what is pre-knowledge? Actually, I learned Oracle SQL and PL SQL and Python. I
Okay.
decided 2 months before that I learned data engineering. So I prepare for this. I learn nowadays. I learn Oracle SQL and PL and Python. So it is sufficient or not? Actually, I'm fresher, sir. Actually, I'm complete 20 MCA in 23 from Bhopal. Okay.
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 So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes,
go
sir.
on.
Tell me. Yes, sir. Tell me.
Yeah. So it will go like we are gonna be starting with the like everything. It's not like something we are just looking as I mentioned, like that's the course outline we are going for. So if you have learned the Oracle part, obviously SQL part and all those, we'll be working on these two databases, Oracle, MySQL and MongoDB. But Oracle and all PostgreSQL and all those other tools, they are just like a database which goes parallelly, right? So if you have learned them, that's good part because companies and requirements keep on changing. So it's not like you have a bad scenario or like that's not of a use case. They can be a handy thing if you are moving forward.
And the Power BI is useful or not, sir, in data
Power
engineering?
BI is
Power BI.
used reason being, as I mentioned, like data engineering, general scenario it is because I have seen many people or many companies, like if I take in some example as Deloitte, one of the example, second one is Bajaj Finserv, third one is HCL, fourth one is Rapido, fifth one is Car Deco. Now these are some of the companies where I've actually taught, and these are the places when they train their data engineers. They tend to teach the Power BI, either the Power BI or the Tableau as well. Right. So that is why I put this Power BI in this particular one also, because one of the BI services we need as a data engineer also, because ultimately if you manage the data, many companies ask or many companies want you to start working on the visualization part also. They don't want to hire an additional person for the visualization tool only,
Yes,
right? So that is why they are coming to the data engineering part, data scientist part. That's why I said it will be covering the basics of it, because when you talk about data engineering, and there's a framework called as Sparks, right? Now Sparks does provide you with some machine learning model possibilities to apply it on the, like, if I take very simple example of credit cards. Now, whenever we make a kind of any kind of bigger transaction, unusual kind of transaction, we tend to get calls from the bank immediately, right? Now, that is a brilliant example of a data engineer implementing a machine learning model. That is the one of the very simplest example I can give you, where you are getting a call from the bank instantly whenever you make a very unusual size of transaction on your credit card.
yes, sir.
So that is the kind of basics we'll be covering up about the about this ML part. Like obviously we cannot cover all of them in very depth, but a very basic you will definitely be covering up.
And what is
Awesome.
difference between big data and data engineering, sir? I mean,
Sorry?
big data, it is cover Hadoop, Spark, PySpark.
Yes, big data obviously requires big data technologies such as Spark, Hadoop. All these are the big data technologies. Like Hadoop is like a data lake where we are managing all the bigger amount of data. As I mentioned, YouTube or these stock exchange, they're all putting all the data into this data lakes. They are like unlimited amount of storage you can have. So do we need basic programming skills? No, you don't need basic programming skills. Definitely, if you have a basic programming skills, that will be an added advantage for you. So you can start working with the Python part. We'll be starting from the beginner to the intermediate level, not to the very high expert level. I'll be giving you some guidelines to go to the expert level also, but we'll be covering up to the beginner to intermediate so that you can get started with this particular one. Prerequisition for this course, no, as such, there's no prerequisition. If you have a good knowledge, if you have some basic knowledge about the SQL and the Python, that's a good thing. And
Hello,
we are
sir.
starting on Monday itself, the upcoming Monday. We are starting with. So, any other question
Hello.
if anyone has?
Hi, Sahil. Shubham this side. Hello.
Shubham?
So I'm working for MNC. I'm a fresher and I got hired as a data engineer. But we don't have any project. So after training, getting trained in your course, so will I be able to like switch to other company based on the knowledge of this training?
Definitely. Like if you are already hired as a data engineer, may I know the company if you are okay with?
Yeah, I'm working for Emphasis.
Sorry, come again.
Emphasis.
Emphasis. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have no idea regarding that, but
Okay.
coming to that, like if you're hired already as a data engineer, so obviously you'll get to learn better over there. If you're planning to switch just after learning this course, I would not say yes to that. The reason being, it will show instability in your part because this course is of 3 months only. What I would say to stick around at least for 6 months, at least for 6 months. Reason being, because when you are, we'll be learning over here everything, right? But
Okay.
when you have a company already been assigned as a data engineer, along with that experience, when you'll be moving to next one, because there is a name along with it, and obviously you have a course along with it. So it will be
Yes.
become both of them become an added advantage for you. Combined, they will get you better opportunities going forward. If you just switch from the course itself, they'll be considering you as a fresher only. But if you're keeping it as a 6 months experience anyway, and the added advantage over here will be that whichever things we are learning over here, you have a better chance of seeing them in a practical part also. Because
Okay.
over here, we'll try to replicate the practical scenarios, but over when you see it in your company, that is where you will see the real practical scenario.
So in this training, we will be working on actual projects, right?
Definitely, we'll be working on actual projects, but see, we will be using a free resources. Okay,
Okay.
for like everyone cannot pay for that, and that's not like very cheap things, right? So we'll be using a free resources. But when you see the same thing in your company, that's are all the paid resources. So definitely you'll get a better things looking up forward, because there are some restriction happens when you are working on a free version.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I would highly recommend to stay at least for 6 months. Then only try to look out for the switching.
okay, thank you.
Hello.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, sir. Hemant this side. I just want to ask that you are saying that you will cover the skills that is, I mean, in this course, you will cover the skills that is also required for data scientist and data analyst profile. So, but I just want to ask that in that profiles, they also prepare the candidate that should have knowledge of a mathematical background like
No,
statistics.
as I mentioned you, got your question, Hemant. So as I mentioned, like coming to the BI part or the data analytics part, now there we are using the skills, as I mentioned, SQL and the Power BI, which is the major portion of the data analyst. Similarly, coming to data scientist, now obviously mathematics is a major root cause over here. So we'll definitely not enter into the mathematics part. We'll be having an overview of how models have been working and implementable, when to apply which one, when to apply, not to apply which one, which are the limitations and pros and cons of those particular models. So we'll be covering as an overview of those particular modeling part, because in the data engineering, as I mentioned, there's a framework which we are going to use as well, Sparks, that includes that have a possibility of ML part also. We can utilize ML from the Sparks itself. So for that particular region, we'll be learning it on an overview part for the data analytical skill.
Also,
Coming to
you
one,
will
yes, go on.
you will cover all the machine learning algorithms because
Not
you have
all of the
mentioned
machine learning algorithm, the basic one, which are more commonly used.
in data engineering profile.
Yes.
Or sir, is it required that a candidate that who wants to continue this course, they should also belong from mathematical background?
So no, there's no as such, because mathematics is majorly required in that ML part, because with ML and in our course and in this data engineering, ML is a very small contribution. It's not like the whole or majority skill. It's a small piece. So we'll be covering it as a small piece only. We'll not be covering it as a whole or everything, right? So like in a week, we can like how to work with a model, how we can implement a model. That is what we're going to learn, and a practical aspects, not from the mathematical or the theoretical part.
Or sir, you will also prepare for the interview purpose.
While going with it, whenever we'll come across any interview based question, we'll definitely discuss it over there itself, not like a additional part. We'll be like on the go, we'll be covering up the interview basis as well.
Sir, I'm asking this question because I have also completed my MC in 2023. So I am also fresher. So I am also deciding to. I have decided that I want to continue my career in data engineering profile. That's why I am asking.
No problem. It is fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, there's
Sorry,
a
sir,
question as
background
Hadoop
sound is there.
versus. Just a moment. There's a question also. So there's a question as what is the difference between a Snowflake and a Hadoop? So coming to this particular one, we have a basic terminologies. These are two different tools over here, frameworks you can say. So Hadoop is like an open source framework, which is it's a data lake. Now basically a lake, how these terminologies goes as lakes. The data lake is like in a lake, you can pour any amount of water. Like you can just keep on pouring the water. You don't have to structure it, right? You don't have to pass it through pipes and all those. You can just, whenever rain falls, it can directly get stored in a lake, right? That is what we have as a Hadoop or a framework as data lake. Coming to Snowflake, it's more like a data warehousing tool. Now, warehousing, we know that warehousing is more like it's like a big space where you sort things, where you, like whenever new thing comes in, you properly sort them in a racks, that this is this place, this is this place, where we have to store it like this and this and so on. Like efficient storage of that particular thing happen in the warehousing, right? That is how we can refer as a Snowflake also. It is a data warehousing tool which helps us uh, to store the data in a structured format so that we can easily get that. It's like a library where you can get a particular book very efficiently. You don't have to just search it out in a stack of books. You have to just go to a particular place, get that particular book, and come out of it. That is how you can refer to this Snowflake. And similarly for Hadoop, it's like just a lake where you're just storing everything. That is how you can differentiate in these two particular technologies. There's
Yeah,
another
sir.
question.
Sir,
Yes.
how many days will we finish this course? Daily
So,
how many hours sessions is there?
so this will be like 3 months long course where we'll be covering 1 hour each day for weekdays. So for 3 months itself, and timings are gonna be 7 to 8 p.m., which we are doing right now as well. That's gonna be the same timing over here also.
Okay.
Working as data engineer user Python. Django and Flask is not something which is very highly used. I would say like very rarely used. I would say like even not used. Like frankly speaking, Django and Flask is not something which is used in this data engineering part. So if you can start, if you want to study about it, definitely in our course we'll not be covering this Django and Flask, but you can study it on your own because they are more like a data transfer part, which we do not use in the data engineering domain. Yes. Anyone having any other questions? And please fill out your attendance forms. There's an attendance form available in the chat, so please do fill that out as well.
सर बैकग्राउंड क्या होना चाहिए, बेहतर बैकग्राउंड क्या है सर? अगर कोई डेटा इंजीनियरिंग में अगर सपोज जाना चाहता है तो उसका बैकग्राउंड क्या होना चाहिए, वर्क एक्सपीरियंस क्या
Doesn't
बेहतर
matter.
मान ले?
Doesn't matter. अगर मैं
तो
अपना
जो
ही बात करूँ,
एसक्यूएल
I'm from
एसक्यूएल
mechanical engineer.
ओके सर.
मैं भी मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर से था. I got a chance to work as a data scientist, so I was a good position. So मुझे data scientist का position में work करने का opportunity मिला. I got an opportunity to work as a data engineers, and then I got a work like मैंने almost data के सभी fields almost try किए हैं. I have actually worked in all of them mostly. So just it's not कि आपको एक specific background आपका होना ही चाहिए. आपको CS आना चाहिए, आपको कोई particular चीज आनी चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
Hey, hi Sahil, this is Amradeep.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. So Sahil, actually, like I have worked for 8 years as Oracle DBA, and now I am not trying to move to data engineering. So will it be a good, thought, or will there be any challenges I might face during this
Yeah,
transition?
definitely. Because abhi just I guess someone asked just now that he also have experience in the DBA. Okay, he's also someone from the DBA team itself. So it always it is going to be an added advantage for you guys because you already have a good knowledge about the data part. So that's do you know already like basic DBA or database are the basic purpose to store the data, manage the data efficiently, and store data on a higher scale. Because we are not able to store the data in Excel or on the basic hard drives. That is when we switch to the database. Now, when there's a limitation coming to the database also, that is why we are shifting to the big data technologies such as Hadoop or the data warehouses, because the basic purpose of using them, and it's not like when you're switching to data warehouses or data lakes, you're removing all the data sources or databases. They're still there. Whenever we talk about the architecture of databases, the databases are still there to work the on transactional part. The OLTP part, OLAP part, which is more like an analytical part, that has been managed by the these data lakes and the data warehouses.
Okay, okay, Sahil. So Sahil, like, are we covering Snowflake DB in this course?
So Snowflake, we are covering, like as I mentioned, Snowflake is a data warehousing technology. So we will be covering a data warehousing, and we'll be using a data warehouse from the Azure cloud, not from the Snowflake perspective. But yes, as I mentioned, there's an additional technology I've added so that we can go through those particular technologies also. And in that one, we will be covering about a Snowflake as an overview because you already have a knowledge about cloud-based data warehouse. So you'll be able to easily manage and work with this Snowflake also moving forward when we'll be having an intro towards the Snowflake, then how that platform works. We'll be having a basic intro for that as well.
Okay,
Because there
thank
are
you,
a lot
Sahil.
of tools available for this data warehousing itself. We cannot cover all of them, but we'll try to cover that additional tools also.
Thank you. Thanks, Sahil. Thanks for the information.
Okay, so there's so I go with only Django and technology for data and I to the data engineering part. Okay, so Yogesh, this is one. So there's very completely different things. Backend developer and the data engineer are two different field completely. Okay. Now, when we talk about data engineers, that is like you might be having a good knowledge about Django, and that's a good thing. It can be good because when you talk about a backend developer, it's like you're managing the data for that particular application or whichever you have created, right? Whichever is connected to that particular application. That is what you're managing on that backend, right? All the data providing services, all those part you're managing. Now that is more like a transactional thing which is happening, which I just covered with the Avradeep also. You're doing the transactional thing, right? But when you talk about the analytical part, like analytical and the transactional thing are two different scenarios. Let me share it, and that will give you a really good understanding for everyone also. Just a moment. Let me come over here. Now, you can understand this particular operation like this, that whenever we talk about data sources, now it can be a SQL-based data sources, no SQL-based data sources. It can be filing format, like files itself, actual files, right? It can be API data, right? Now, these are more like a data sources. Okay, these are all the data sources where the actual customer transaction is going on, right? There are that is what we call the OLTP, transactional processing, online transactional processing, which has been happening on a regular basis. But that is where another terminology which is coming into play, which is OLAP, right? OLAP is online analytical processing, where you are trying to process the data for the analytical purpose. And that is where this is the data engineering part comes into play. Up to this part, that is what can be handled by the backend part. Backend developers are handling and working on these particular part. Now, this is a very general perspective I gave you over here, but that is where the backend developer are majorly working on. But OLAP are the person who is extracting the data from over here, from all the different sources, collecting it over in the data warehouse, or maybe data lake, or maybe the combination of both to work with the analytical part. Now that analytics can be done by the BI tools, can be done by the AI also. Now, if it has been done by the AI, that is who has the data scientist. If it has been done by the BI, business intelligence, that is who we refer to as data analyst. And this is the part which has been managed by the data engineers. So that is how you can refer to all these three terminologies and how it is related to the front-end, back-end development part itself. Is it clear, Yogesh? So is it possible to get job as a fresher in data engineering? Definitely. Definitely it is possible to get a job as freshers, because generally, even if you are going as a data scientist or data engineers, sorry, data analyst, you tend to start with these part itself. Because whenever you come to the data field, these are the major thing which you're going to start working on. This is a smaller piece. This is a later on piece which you start working on when you start getting experience also. That is when you start working, and that's from my actual experience. Whenever a person who get placed, like from my the people who I have taught, I talk to them, and there what they told is when they switched to the company, that is where they actually started working on these particular technologies first, and then after 6 months, that is when they're starting on these particular parts. So coming to highly paid part, okay. Whenever we talk about highly paid part, it's more based on the kind of skills you are having. Okay. There's a high demand of development also. It's not like development is not in use. People are still creating a lot of apps, still creating a lot of websites. Everything is been managed, and all the data which is in passed to these particular application, it can be website, application, anything, that is all been managed by the backend developer. They are managing all the database part so that all the applications which are running front end can work efficiently. Coming to data engineers, now obviously data engineers are the one who's working on the analytical part, right? So there we cannot compare these two particular people's salary. Right? If you're better, you are in each one of them, better you can achieve a salary over in both of them. They are like two different domains. So that does not make a sense of comparing, I would say. Okay. Any other question if anyone have?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you will be guiding how to deploy several ML models in different platforms. How to deploy an ML model.
So deploying a ML model is what we're gonna try out for. Okay, I'll not say because in the ML part, when we're studying about ML part, that is what we are actually gonna learn about, because learning the ML model in depth is not a possibility. So we'll be seeing how to work with the ML part, how do we implement a model, and obviously without development that does not make a sense. Because as a data engineers, whenever even if you're working with along with a data scientist, you'll be more interested, you'll be more seeing toward whenever they are working, they are creating a model, how to deploy it onto the servers. That is what you will be the one who will be managing onto this part as well. So we'll definitely be seeing out how we can deploy a machine learning model on top of the in this particular kind of scenario. And this is our YouTube channel, so you can definitely take a look out of this. Here we have added a lot of content availability as well. You can definitely go through with this one. Right, so here it is. Is Python clear to DSA? So yeah, Python, you can definitely cover the DSA part using Python also. DSA is more like the way how efficiently you can do a coding. And for that purpose, we go with this DSA part. Any company who is asking for DSA, that is more to know that how efficiently you can do coding. For that purpose only they need DSA. Now it can be Python, it can be C++, it can be Java. It does not make any difference. Any other question if anyone have, please let me know. And from upcoming Monday itself, we'll be starting with this batch. So please get enrolled fast and see you in the sessions, everyone. If anyone have questions, can definitely let me know. And coming to one more part, that if you feel like English is too much for you, so we can definitely discuss it a little bit in the Hindi also. That is not gonna be an issue on the language part as well. We'll more majorly focus on the English part only, but we can definitely work with Hindi also. So these are two languages which we are okay with going on.
Sir.
Yes, go on.
Sir, which type of SQL is need, sir? Oracle SQL, PL SQL, NoSQL, MySQL.
So MySQL is the one which we'll be covering up over here, and the another one, NoSQL part, will be using a MongoDB.
Okay, sir. So I learned the Oracle SQL. So I leave Oracle SQL, sir, or not?
No, it's not like you have to leave that one. You can just keep on working on the same itself, right? So it's like you just like if you talk about MySQL and Oracle SQL, obviously there's slight changes happen, but because you already have good experience with Oracle SQL, you can parallelly work. Or like when we are practicing on MySQL, you can better your normal Oracle SQL skills also, or you can learn additionally about MySQL. So both the SQL parts you're going to be having advantage on. That is how you can go.
Sir, it is only online or offline, sir?
It's online. It's completely online batch.
And when the Learnomate open the branch in Hyderabad, sir? Any idea, sir?
For that,
actually, you can do one thing. You can call me on 7757062955. Otherwise, 7822917585. We will explain everything. And please fill up the Google form, everyone. So we will call you tomorrow for the detailed information. We will share the syllabus. We will share the session details, everything, and we will also share you the demo lectures today. Those who are not attending this. Okay. Please fill up the attendance form, guys.
So coming to the job support part, as I mentioned also, Rohit, we'll be definitely be looking out at how we can look out for better opportunities going forward. How and even if you're coming as a semi-technical or some other domains also, if you have some good length of experience, you will never be considered a completely fresher. Okay, it is not like if you're even if you're entering a new domain, you're completely fresher, because when you're working as a professional, you have a professional experience, you know how to deal with the people, how to work with the people, and that is one of an important skill which has been taken care by everyone. So that is going to be an advantage. That is going to be a skill moving forward. So PostgreSQL, MongoDB. So both are used. PostgreSQL is a SQL based, whereas MongoDB is a NoSQL based. So PostgreSQL, you can compare it with the MySQL rather than comparing it with the MongoDB. MongoDB, Cassandra, all these are like a NoSQL databases. So we cannot compare these two, Yogesh.
हेलो
Yes.
सर सर एक सजेशन बस चाहिए मुझे, सिर्फ एक सजेशन
Yes.
एक्चुअली सर मेरा 3 साल का बीसीए और एमसीए के बीच में 3 साल का गैप है सर, ठीक है. I complete BCA in 20 and I complete MCA in 23. Okay. 3 साल का, सॉरी 18 और 23 में है, 3 साल का गैप है, ठीक है. तो
शायद आपने अटेंडेंस फॉर्म फिल किया है क्या?
सर कहाँ पे है अटेंडेंस? एक बार से कर देता हूँ.
चैट में अवेलेबल है.
चैट में कल आपको एक एग्जीक्यूटिव कॉल करेगा, वो आपको एक्सप्लेन करेगा ये डिटेल्स.
ओके सर, ओके सर, ओके, थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू.
Please fill out everyone attendance form here. Please भर दीजिए. Everyone, please fill out the attendance forms, please. Attendance form link is available in the chat. Please, everyone, fill it up. And that is all we have for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sahil. Thanks a lot.
Most welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Please fill the attendance form, everyone. Session will be available for 2 minutes. You can fill the attendance form. Our executive will call you tomorrow for the detailed information. He will guide you for the further. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir, for joining.